All right, so welcome everybody to the webinar, Create Your Own Math Graphics. Going to share my screen here so you guys can see our little display. So Create Your Own Math Graphics. I am your presenter, Erin Dwyer. And here is my email address for future reference if there's any other questions you guys might have. Anything that you want to follow up on, I'm always available, so please let me know there. So here are our objectives, things that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to learn how to use the program Geometry Sketchpad to create your own math or otherwise graphics. The reason I say that is, yes, it's primarily used for math, at least for me, because I am a math teacher, but you can also use it for many different things, including science. We're going to look at making graphs and things like that. So you might find other uses for it too. We're also going to see how you can manipulate these items in Word documents, so Microsoft Word. So if you want to put them into a worksheet for your classes or use them for a quiz or something like that, we're going to talk about that as well. And then I'm going to show you guys some pre-made examples of the possibilities because we won't have time to go over everything, but it is pretty amazing to see what this program is able to do. So we're actually going to start here with a survey. If you have the latest version of Zoom, if you scroll up or you take your cursor up to the top, there should be a box that says options. If you hit that options box and scroll down, there will be an option called annotate. And if you click that, you're actually going to be able to write on this screen. So here are 3 questions I would like you guys to look at. If you answered yes to any of those 3 questions, if you would use that annotate option and put a little check mark or something like that to let me know which ones you feel apply to you. Oh, we got a couple people using it. Is everyone finding it okay? Oh, some people are actually spelling out yes. Wow, look at you guys. Being fancy. I was just looking for a mark. That's great. Okay, so we have yeses for, it looks like for all 3 of them. Okay, so so the biggest thing is question number 3. How many of you have struggled making a worksheet or otherwise with graphics in it in the past? Because we're so used to using textbooks and more schools are getting away from that. So how do we still use our resources that are from textbooks, from PDFs, things like that, but put them into the documents the way we would like to see them? So that's what we're going to talk about. All right, so having said that, I'm going to stop my screen share. Okay, and what we're actually going to do next is I'm going to share my screen with Geometry Sketchpad open. What I would like to do preferably is to share just the Sketchpad screen, but I'm going to share my whole desktop because some of the things that we're going to look at actually require the options up at the top. Okay, so there's all my screens. I know it's a little messy. I apologize for that. So basically taking a look at this, here is our Sketchpad screen, and I accidentally just clicked out of the toolbox. So when you open Sketchpad, it should look something like this. Can everyone give me a thumbs up? Can you see that okay? Perfect. All right. The nice part about Sketchpad is everything's very self-explanatory. If you've ever worked with anything like GeoGebra or anything along those lines as well, it's very similar. So arrow to be able to move items. This is if you want to make points in different areas, okay? Circle option where I can make a circle right here, any size I want. This option, you can make a line. Now, let's say I want to make a line from this point to this one. Do you see how when I scroll over it, it's highlighted? So if I click that, it actually connects those points together. And what that then allows me to do is I can pick up one point and manipulate that later on. So that's always nice to have. Another thing that's really nice is, do you see how this point is highlighted? If I highlight that point as well as this circle, I actually can move both of them at the same time. So that's pretty cool when you're trying to manipulate things or maybe make a triangle look a particular shape or anything along those lines. So here's the first thing that we're actually going to talk about is how to make an arc on a circle. And it might seem like, okay, why am I going to do that? And we'll get there in just a second. So what I'm going to do, oh, you know what? I forgot to show you these other two tools down here. You see the A, usually that stands for text, right? So here's my little text to everybody. You might use that for labeling a side or labeling points. So for example, another thing I can do is if I click this point and go up to the top and hit display and go down to option label point, it'll pop up and you can label it whatever you like. So we'll just call it A, that works for me. And if I hit okay, it actually labels that point A, so that sticks around. Even if I go to drag that point elsewhere, that's really nice when you're creating diagrams as well. So let's get to creating an arc. So I'm actually going to hit the point feature and create one more point right here. Go back to the arrow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this point down here at the bottom and click that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go clockwise on the circle. So if I'm following the circle, I'm going to hit the circle. I'm going clockwise and hitting this next point right here. Up at the top, if you go to construct, arc on circle, do you see how another shape was made over top of that circle? What that allows me to do is if I unclick from here, I can highlight this circle and go to display, hide circle, and now I only have that section of the circle left, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of interesting to see. So out of curiosity, I actually have the ability to allow you guys, even if you don't have Sketchpad open, to actually try this on my Sketchpad. Would anyone with a show of hands maybe want to give it? Kara, you seem very enthusiastic about it. Okay, so Kara, let me share my screen. What I'm gonna do right here is you're gonna see something that pops up that says Erin Dwyer is now sharing her screen with you. Okay. And once you see that, you should be able to have control. Okay. And Kara, if you would like to unmute so that as you're going through this, if you have questions, I can walk you through it. It's up to you.
All right, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great.
Do you have control? Does it pop up and say that you can use my screen yet?
It did already before, but let me see if I click on something.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Yeah? Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've got it.
Okay, so you're making your point. So what you're going to do is why don't you place that point above, like up here somewhere.
We're going to make a circle, right?
Yeah, or you can make a new circle if you'd like to, absolutely.
Well, that's what I was going to do.
Okay, well, so if you look at your tools, there you go. Nice. Yep, and then put that point wherever you want. Okay, now go back to the arrow option and unselect everything. So either like click outside of the circle because you see there's a couple points selected. There you go. So select that one, yep, right there. And you're gonna go clockwise, select the circle, and then keep going clockwise and select that point. Awesome. Do you remember where to go from here?
Construct.
Nice.
Arc on circle.
Awesome, you are a rock star, look at that. Okay, so unselect everything. Okay, and then click the big circle, yep, and go up to the top, and it's under display. Now, real quick, before you actually hit hide circle, some of you guys are on a Mac, I know for sure. If you look next to hide circle, that Command H shortcut, I use that a lot. But obviously, if you're not a big fan of shortcuts or you are afraid you might not remember something like that, you can just select it like Kara is. So go ahead and hit that. Nice, yay! Everyone get a little applause, very awesome. Okay, nice job. So anybody else want to give it a try or should we move on to something else? Okay, so Kara, I'm going to take control back of the screen here. If you wouldn't mind putting your audio back to mute for me after so I gotta use the cursor to be able to get back to my screen. So hold tight for just a second. Perfect. And then now you should be able to go back to mute, Kara. That's perfect. Okay, awesome. So I do want to stop for a quick second. Please don't forget there is that chat feature at the bottom of your screen. Using the chat feature, does anyone have any questions so far? No, and everyone's kind of shaking their head. Okay, perfect. So here's the reason why you might need something like this. For me, I think geometry is the biggest one I make pictures of. You know, you're trying to make parallel lines and similar triangles. So for example, I'm going to use the line feature, and I'm going to create something like this. This is a very common geometry picture, okay? Maybe I also want to say these two lines are parallel. The other thing I want to show you guys too is when we hid the circle, so like when Kara hid the circle to make the arc show up, I'm extremely OCD. So I don't really like having these little points everywhere. You can also select all these little points, and I'm going to use the shortcut, but again, if you want to go to display hide, the shortcut's Command H on a Mac, so it's a little bit different on a PC. But see, I can hide those points, and I just think that looks a little nicer, so with my OCD-ness, I'm going to get rid of those. Okay, so here's the reason you might need that. Let's say I want to show that this angle and this angle are the same. What I can do is I can actually create a circle. And what I want to do when I make my point, here's the best part. Before, like when Carol was trying it, you could put a point anywhere on the circle. I want to put it so that it's on the circle. Do you see how the circle's highlighted? But also highlighting the line. What that means is it's connected to both of those pieces. Now here's the thing, do you see how our points are actually backwards from what they were before? So if I still want to go clockwise, now I actually have to start at this point. Okay, so then I'm going to go clockwise, hit my circle, clockwise, get that point. Okay, go to construct, arc on circle, and you'll see it makes that arc. And then I can hide this guy. So I just made a point that measures that angle. So if I do the same thing, I'll do that real quick. Oops. Okay, so I want to go clockwise, so I'll start with this one, clockwise, hit the circle, then this one, construct arc, and hide it. Now I have a picture that shows my students that those two angles are congruent, which is very, very beneficial. So here's our next step. Okay, now that we've made it, how do we put it into a Word document? It's as easy as selecting it. I, again, like shortcuts, so on a Mac, I would hit Command C for copy. You can also go to Edit and hit Copy, so it's up to you. And I'm going to open up a Word document. I actually have some examples I'm going to show you guys. And maybe I'll scroll down and paste it in there. Oops, I did not hit Copy. Shame on me. Okay, try that again. Copy that, hit Paste. There we go, and it shows up in my document. Here's the next thing that people get a little confused about is they go, well, if I start typing, all my words are only down there, and that seems messy. So what we can do is actually, if we right click or control click if you're on a Mac, go to Format Picture and Layout. My preference is actually in front of text. And what that allows me to do is move it wherever I'd like. So I can adjust this just like I would on a normal Word document, and then I can place that wherever I want it to be. That allows me to make my worksheets look cleaner and more professional. So I want to stop for just a second. Are there any questions so far? We doing all right? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to show you guys a few examples here. So I actually put together some examples of things I've used in my classes before. So here's an example of some geometry questions here. Okay, a little bit more geometry. So you can label angles, degrees, you can make trapezoids, things with multiple sides on it. You can make line segments. And here's the next thing I want to get to because we do have a little bit of extra time and this is pretty cool. So I want to show you. So we might not have enough time to actually practice it, but I do want to kind of throw it out there. This is my favorite. Those of you that are math teachers, you recognize these as piecewise functions. And if you want to make these on your own, they're tough to find. You can't just Google search piecewise functions and find challenging questions that have absolute value functions or exponential functions. They don't pop up as easily. That's not something we're going to be able to get into today, but again, you guys have my email, and maybe we can even set up another webinar and I can show you guys kind of how these work. You do need an extra tool for it, but it's pretty cool when that happens. Another big one is right here for transformations. Okay, I can use graphs to show transformations and make my own. The other big one I like is inequalities, and we actually have a little bit of time, so I bet I can show you that one real quick. So let's go back to Geometry Sketchpad, and I'm actually going to delete all of that. And here's how you make a graph. It's actually as simple as going up to graph, hitting define coordinate system. That's your basic, how to graph sort of thing. So let's say I want to plot an equation. I again go to graph, plot new function. And I don't know, let's do 2x minus 4. And it shows up. But let's say I'm teaching a pre-algebra class and I want it to be an inequality. I kind of cheat on this one, and here's what I mean. I put points in the corners. Do you see how I'm putting points in all the corners of the picture? And then what I do is I select all 4 points, and kind of like how we said construct arc on circle, instead, I'm going to construct quadrilateral interior. Now it looks like an inequality. And to make it even cooler, sometimes inequalities are dashed. I can click the line, display, line width, and now it's y is less than 2x minus 4. I can screenshot this, I can copy it, I can put it into a Word document, and it really makes those look a little bit nicer, okay? So I did mention this is not only a math class, right? So I'm gonna open up a new sketch. There is another thing that could be very useful. If we go to graph, define coordinate system, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm actually gonna click both lines and go back to graph and hit grid form rectangular. What that means is I can actually make this scale whatever I want. So in science, usually you go up by ones, you're talking about time or hours, something like that. But maybe this y value only going up to 12 usually is not very beneficial. I can actually scroll over one of them, and if you see there's a double arrow there, I can make this scale as big or as small as I want. And now that y value goes all the way up to 120. And again, I can copy this, I can put it into a document, I can write text around it, and it's pretty cool to see all the things that we can make with that. And so you can make worksheets that are more professional and that work out, okay? So I see that Kathy wrote, how do you get to the top toolbar with pi? So Kathy, would you mind unmuting that? I'm not sure what you mean.
Okay. All right. So when I do my sine and cosine graphs, they just have numbers here. And I've never seen, I see a little pi up at the top. Can you make your x-axis with pi?
Where are you seeing the pi at the top?
You're very like top toolbar.
Mm-hmm. Under
like
graph?
It's bold and then italics right next to the underline. No, like there's like you know how you have the little toolbar to the left? There's a little toolbar on top of your graph.
Oh, this guy.
Okay, is that a way to get pi? Can I get pi into my x-axis? I've never been able to get pi into my...
Well, so unfortunately, this pi that's on that toolbar is actually for when I want to, for example, type something that's in text. So
Yeah.
like if I wanted to type hello, I could add in the pi symbol. So unfortunately, that's slightly different than what you're hoping it to be. And in fact, I've actually never been able to, I'll be honest, I've never been able to do the pi on the axes as well. However, for example, when I go to make piecewise functions, I have to have a separate program, so it's almost like an add-on. I have to have that open, and then I go to this guy. Do you see how when I click that, it says create new tool, tool options? When I go to do piecewise functions, I have a separate window open, and I have to click that, and it'll actually come up. There will be a fourth option that says piecewise, and it'll talk about left bound, right bound to create that. So if you're trying to do something like that, I bet it's an add-on. So we would have to look that up and see if we could get that for you, because that's definitely something we use in our higher classes for sure. So I can look into that for you and
Okay,
see
great.
if I
Thank
can
you.
help. Awesome. All right. So I just want to get a quick thumbs up. Did we do okay? Does that help maybe? Yeah. Okay. And so one last quick kind of plug, I guess. I do want to share my notebook with you really quick that does have my email address on there. Okay, and most of you guys have my email, but just in case you want to follow up, or if you want me to set up something where we can learn how to do those piecewise functions, and Kathy, I'll look into using Pi for those like sine functions, because that's definitely something we need to know how to do. So any questions from anything that we talked about today? If you have one, you can either unmute or go into the group chat. Awesome. Okay, well, if you guys have any follow-up questions, please let me know, but I really appreciate you guys stopping in, and I hope this helped. So, bye everybody.
Thanks, Erin.
Of course.